Hey everyone, how are we doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this, good to you. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I do lifestyle videos and ministry videos. So if you are new, that is the content that I put out. If you don't mind, go check out my other video. This video in particular is going to be about my hospital experience when I gave birth to my daughter. I gave birth on 10/12/21, so we're going to talk about that whole entire hospital experience, as well as we're going to talk about postpartum items right after you give birth. Hey, before we go further, we could not keep going without a little bit of encouragement. Psalms 51:10 says, "Creating me a clean heart and renew the right spirit in me." Now, there's sometimes in this Christian walk within our salvation that we have to ask God consistently to clean us, to work himself in us, because sometimes we get a little, too ahead of ourselves. We stray away a little bit, and we need the Lord to give us a sense of newness, give us a clean heart, a heart with no motives, no intentions. And we also need the Lord to give us a spirit that is right, that is righteous, because sometimes we get off course and we need to be rejuvenated, renewed consistently. Do not think that your salvation does not need to be renewed. You have to always ask the Lord to pour into you newness and rejuvenate your soul so that you can be right every single day. Always remember that we're consistently working out our soul salvation. Continue to ask the Lord to create in you a clean heart and renew the right spirit in you. Okay, so let's get into the hospital experience. I didn't write down any notes, so it's just on the top of my head. I gave birth on 10/12/2021. I went into early labor Monday morning around 4 a.m. in the morning. I started to have like little minor contractions, and by the end of Monday, going into Tuesday morning, the contraction got a bit more aggressive. And so that's when I decided to go in the hospital Tuesday morning, and I'm not sure, maybe it was about 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, Tuesday. And I went into the hospital because I couldn't take the pain anymore. It was, well, I could take it. It was just that I didn't want to be in pain anymore because I was already in pain for a full day. And I didn't want to consistently labor. But I got to the hospital Tuesday morning, and I ended up being about 3 centimeters dilated. And the woman told me that my contractions were not strong enough to push me into active labor. And so we walked around the hospital, around the little unit that they had me walk around, until I couldn't walk anymore, because I was, the contractions were coming really strong, so I couldn't walk anymore. Well, I could walk, but I just didn't feel like walking in pain. Came back to the room, she checked me again, still 3 centimeters dilated. So they told me to go home and labor a little bit more. And she said for the pain, take some Tylenol, and I think she said Motrin. Not sure, it was some pain medication, over-the-counter pain medication that she told me to get. So I'm still in pain, and I was sent back home Tuesday morning to labor some more, and Lord knows I labored more. So at this point, I've been laboring more than 12 hours in pain with early contractions. So I get home, and I try to rest. For the most part, I didn't get any sleep. I was not able to rest at all because the contractions were coming like maybe every 15 to 30 minutes they were coming. And sometimes when your body anticipates things, you don't really rest or relax well. Mom came over, and she stayed the night, and she actually started to time my contractions. At that point, by the time sunrise, and it was maybe 11 or 12 o'clock in the morning, no, not in the morning, it was either 10 or 11 in the morning, that's when my mom started to time my contraction, and we realized they were getting closer and closer. They started to get a lot more painful, and they started to last a little bit longer. And so I decided to call my midwife or my OBGYN center and tell them, hey, look, they're coming a little stronger. I can still talk, I can still walk. However, I just can't, I don't want to be in pain anymore. So they told me to come in for an appointment, an emergency appointment, around 2 o'clock. I think it was like 1:15, but they didn't get me back there until maybe 1:30 or something. So I got to my appointment and I ended up being 6 centimeters dilated. So I'm 6 centimeters dilated at this point. And so the midwife is like, you can either go back home and labor some more, or you can go to the hospital and they can go ahead and start the process with active labor. Because at this point, I'm in active labor. So she said, so I tell her I'm ready to go to the hospital because I'm ready for them to give me some type of pain medicine because I am through with being in pain. At this point, it's almost a full 24 hours that I've been in early, and we're early going into active labor. So I was done with the pain. I just wanted someone to just give me something. So she ended up taking, well, she didn't take me to, my husband ended up taking me to the hospital. Get admitted into the hospital. We're walking down, you know, to the labor room. So we end up walking to the labor room. The woman is giving me a tour while we're on the way. Like, she's walking me the long way. And I'm like, honey, I'm in pain. I don't feel like walking right now. But nevertheless, she's walking me around. And then we get to the room. Of course, my mom and my husband, you know, help unpack, you know, everything, got everything in order. My mom helped me take my clothes off, and I'm still in pain. You know, I'm on the bed. They get the baby heartbeat and everything going, hook me up for fluids. And I also had to be on antibiotics. So they went ahead and hooked all that up. So the nurse asked me, do you want an epidural? At this point, I had decided, my whole pregnancy, I said I'm gonna get an epidural. But at this point, while I'm in hospital, I decided I'm not gonna get the epidural. I told the nurse I'm not gonna get an epidural. My plan is to labor as much as I can and then take some, you know, pain medicine towards the end of my pregnancy, or towards the end of labor, so that I can, you know, make sure that I don't feel anything. So she said, okay, you know, that's good. We're gonna stick with your plan. So I'm still in pain, Get up and I walk around because I didn't feel like sitting or laying in a hospital bed in pain. So I just decided to walk around. Me and my husband walked for about 20-30 minutes. I think it was about 20. And then we go back to the room and my OBGYN is ready for me. I wish my husband here, because he could probably tell you more of the details. So we get back into the room after walking for about 20 minutes. And my OBGYN is ready for me. That's when she checks me. I'm still 6 centimeters dilated at this point. And so she gives me about an hour or so to see if I'm dilated some more. I'm not. So, by the way, I was admitted to the hospital around 2 o'clock. And so she said that she'll come back and break my water if I'm not dilated anymore a few hours after she checked me. So I think it was about 2. She comes back in, checked me again, still 6 minutes dilated. So she decided to break my water. And I knew that once she break my water that the pain was gonna come a little more intense. So I told them once she break my water, I want the medicine right then and right there, the pain medicine. So that's what we did. We did that plan. She broke my water. I got the medicine right after. Then I was actually able to relax and sleep. I don't know if I slept, but apparently something happened to where my body was able to relax and get some type of rest. So after I got the pain medicine, I think it worked for a while. My husband will be able to tell you how long it worked, but it worked for a while, and then the pain started to hit hard and I could feel it. So I'm telling the nurse I can still feel pain. I can still feel pain. I just kept laboring. The pain was coming sharper and sharper until it started to change. Well, before we get into that, so they gave me the pain medicine, and the pain, after it weared off, the pain was getting worse and worse and worse. So the nurse came in, not the nurse, the midwife came in and gave me medication to speed up the whole labor process. And once she gave me that, that's when the pain got aggressive. I want to say even more aggressive. And to the point where my body was pushing. And I was telling the nurse, I was like, I'm pushing, but I'm trying to stop pushing, but I can't. And so my body was like pushing to the point where my ears were clogged up. You know how you get in an airplane and your ears get clogged up and you can't hear anything? That's how my body was doing. It was almost like my body was taking all of that and it was clogging my ears up while it was pushing and pushing and pushing. And I've been pushing, my body was pushing for a while. And so at one point, I looked at my mom. She was on this side of me. I said, Mom, I have to get the epidural. I gotta get it. So then I look at the nurse. And my mom said, she's like, it's okay, baby. Get whatever you need. I look at the nurse. I said, I'm gonna get the epidural. And so, and I remember also looking at my husband like, I can't do this. It was so funny. But I told the nurse I need the epidural, so she starts to prepare me for this epidural. Meanwhile, my body is still pushing, and I'm telling the nurse this, and she's like, "Don't push. You know, you don't want to get ahead of yourself." So she's preparing me. She puts the fluids in my hand, and she's like, "Your other fluids have to finish before we do the epidural fluids or the salt water, I guess." And then she was like, the doctor that has to come in and give you the needle, he's in another unit, so we also have to wait for him. And so I'm looking like, whatever you got to do at this point, I don't care. Figure it out. And so she's hooking things up, doing, you know, different things, preparing me for the epidural. And as soon as they lift my body up and turn me, because I took my time turning around and sitting up because the pain was that bad. I couldn't sit up or do anything. As soon as I sat up and turned around, my body started to push and push even more to where like blood and fluids and was just gushing out on the hospital bed. And my husband was like, is that normal? You know, the nurse was like, yeah, it's pretty normal. So I'm turning around, getting ready for them to do it. And my body, like I said, was still aggressively pushing and pushing. And it was not in my control. So another nurse comes in, different nurse. And she sees the way that I'm pushing. And she's like, okay, hold on. Let's check to see how, you know, how far along she is, how much dilated she is. So she checks me and she's like, oh my God, she's ready. So at this point, everybody is looking like, oh my God, it's time. So they help me, you know, turn back on the bed, get me back, laid back on the bed. And they alert the midwife. Midwife comes in and we start the process. My mom is on one leg, my husband's on the other leg. I see like extra nurses coming in and, I saw one nurse on my head and she just kept telling me to breathe, make sure you breathe. And so they put my legs back and lo and behold, I started pushing. But the funny thing is my body was already pushing and it's like I couldn't stop it for nothing. So the midwife, sometimes she didn't even tell me. I didn't hear her tell me to push. She may have told me, but my body was already pushing to where like I just went along with it and started pushing with my body. And so whenever they told me to relax, I relaxed and I, you know, breathe through it. Pushing, I think I pushed one time and I felt her body. Like it wasn't all the way out, but I felt her body. And I pushed the second time and I felt her head right there. And it, honestly, the pain was like, ooh. But I told myself, I'm gonna forget about the pain and I'm just gonna focus on breathing and pushing. And so I think by the third or fourth time that I pushed, she came out. She slid out and she was here. And so I did not get the epidural. It was way too late to get the epidural. She was already like coming out by the time that, you know, I could even receive an epidural. So she arrives. Funny thing is, she had a bowel movement and she actually peed. She peed when she came out, and she also had bowel movement already in the fluids and in the womb. She comes out, and so they instantly start working on me because I had 3 tears, and it was painful. Nevertheless, it was painful because I felt everything. They did numb me down there, and they did give me another dosage of that pain medicine, but it did not do anything major. I think it helped in a way of helping my mind not think about it, but I still felt not the tears. I still felt, you know, the stitches or whatever she was doing down there. And I did still feel her coming out when she came out. So I just remember just sitting there, like, everybody was telling me, oh my God, you did so good. You did so good. You have a good pain tolerance, or whatever they were saying. And it was amazing. It was a very good experience. Her labor and delivery was amazing. It was an amazing experience because everything happened so quickly. I was able to labor so long. I labored for a day. I can't believe I did that. I labored for a day. I labored the whole time I was in the hospital up until they broke my water, which that was so many hours. I can't even count. It was amazing. Nevertheless, for all first-time moms, don't ever count out, you know, your experience, because it's going to be different than everybody's experience. And always have hope and always admire your experience, because you're going to, you know, experience it different than everybody else. But it was amazing. Let's get into postpartum. So after they finished with every single thing that they had to do with me after labor and delivery, the nurse, oh my God, she was so amazing. I really wish I remember her name. She was so amazing. She walked me to the bathroom. She literally wiped me down there, cleaned me off, prepared me, helped me get my clothes on, you know, everything. And it was just so amazing, so amazing. So she helped me with everything, and we prepared to go to the room. I'm not sure what they call it, but you know, it's another room that they give you after you give birth. That was a great experience as far as how she transitioned me to labor room to our room that we stayed in. So let's talk about down there. So if you are going to do a vaginal birth, or already have, you already know that down there is very sensitive after you give birth, especially if you had a tear or anything like that. Now, I didn't experience any irritation when I peed or pooped, so I didn't really have any pain, but I did have a lot of bleeding, and it was super sore down there. So some of the products that I used straight after giving birth was